Welcome to part 1 of drawing a graph for a quadratic formula. Part 1 being from quadratic formula to table. But first let's look at all the steps to draw a graph from a quadratic formula. Step 1 is make a table. You always need to do this for any kind of graph, but for a quadratic formula we usually take x from -3 to +3. After we've made the table, we can draw a coordinate system, and we need to take care of the numbers along the axis. So we need to look at the results in the table. In the coordinate system, we can draw the points we get from the table, and after we have done that, we can draw a smooth curve. If it's a quadratic formula, it's always going to be a smooth curve, no straight lines, through those points, so it doesn't stop at the points we calculate. For this video, part 1, we're only going to focus on step 1, make a table. So we have the formula y is -2x squared plus 8. And I've already started the table, so we have x always on the top, the independent variable, and y, the dependent variable, always at the bottom. And I've taken x from -3, -2, -1, all the way to +3. So that's usually the start of the table. And now we have to calculate all the y values, all of them, everyone, and fill them in right below the x value we used. So we're gonna do that, but in this case I am gonna write it down, all of it. If you have to draw a table, you do not need to write all your calculations. But if you have just one question, calculate y for x is -3, for instance, then you do need to write your calculations, and you do need to write it down exactly as I'm going to do now. But if the only job is to make a table, to fill in the table, you don't need to write all of it down. So I'm going to calculate y, and I'm going to start with x is -3. So we have -2 times x is -3, -3 squared plus 8. But remember that x is -3, which means that x squared means -3 times -3, and we only get that if we put brackets around the -3. So if we have x as a negative number, then there's always brackets around the negative number. So there's always going to be brackets around the negative number, which means that -3 squared is going to be +9, because -3 times -3 is going to be +9. -2 times 9 is -18, and -18 plus 8 is then -10. So if the question is calculate y for x is -3, this is what you need to write down. You need to write down what you calculate, how you do that, so you show that you know how to fill in x, and of course the answer. In this case, it means that we can now fill in one bit of the table. For x is -3, we know y is -10. Let's continue doing that, pick up the pace a little bit. So we're going to do exactly the same thing for x is -2. So we have -2 times x squared plus 8, -2 times -2 squared. -2 squared is going to be +4, -2 times +4 is -8, and -8 plus 8 is 0. Y is -2 times -1 squared plus 8. So -1 squared is 1, -2 times 1 is -2, and minus 2 plus 8 is 6. Y is minus 2 times 0 squared plus 8. I've left a negative number so I don't need my brackets around the x value. If you want, you can still put them there. It doesn't go wrong, it's not a problem. So when in doubt, put the brackets around your x value. It's always better to do them when you don't need them than to not do them when you do need them with negative numbers. 0 squared is of course 0 times minus 2 is still 0 plus 8 is 8. So let's fill in this in the table because that was the goal. Minus 2 we got to y is 0. Minus 1 we got to 6. 0 we got to 8. And then we have to continue. So y is minus 2 times 1 squared plus 8. Minus 2 times 1 squared minus 2 times 1 is minus 2 plus 8 is again 6. Y is minus 2 times 2 squared plus 8. So minus 2 times 4 is minus 8 plus 8 is 0. And finally minus 2 times 3 squared plus 8 minus 2 times 9 plus 8 is minus 18 plus 8 is minus 10. So you should notice that, hey, we've got 6 and 6, 0 and 0, and 10 and 10. So you can always find this symmetry in quadratic formulas. You need to get to your top, so you need to get to the point where you go back, but after that we can see that if I've got 6, I've got 6 on the other side, 2 from the top we get 0, 2 from the top we get 0, and minus 10 and minus 10. So now we have our table for y is minus 2x squared plus 8. And from there we can start going to steps 2, 3 and 4 to finish making the graph. But that will be done in part 2 of this series of videos.